Hi everyone, welcome to lesson 11 of Ignite Your Music Career. That little tune you heard is a cute little, sounds like a bit of a kid's tune. I wrote that in 2011 as you can see, and it's appeared in numerous video games, soundtracks, different TV shows, still pays royalties to this day. So that's why it's important again to get your music out there. So this week we're going to focus on exclusive music libraries. We're going to talk about why you should work with them, how they work, some of the similarities and differences between non-exclusive libraries and exclusive libraries, just kind of how you get to submit to those guys because they're a little bit different. I've included a sample contract, an agreement to take a look at, and there's research activity there as well to check out, because you should work with more than just non-exclusive libraries. You should work with music libraries as well. So as always, there's free samples to download and enjoy and use in your musical creations. All right, so let's get started. So what are exclusive music libraries? Technically, they do a lot of the same things as non-exclusive libraries. They have connections, deep tentacles out into the music world for ad agencies, video game companies, music supervisors, producers, directors of films, and that sort of thing, much like non-exclusives. They'll pitch your music to all their channels and that sort of thing. The one key element or difference, I guess, between a non-exclusive and an exclusive library is that once you sign your track or tracks or song to a music library that's exclusive, it's usually for a period of time. It could be 2 years or 3 years, depending on their agreements. But the key takeaway here is once you sign it with Music Library ABC, who has your music on an exclusive basis, you cannot now pitch that anywhere else. You cannot pitch it to any other exclusive libraries. You can't pitch it to music supervisors yourself. You can't pitch it to any non-exclusive libraries. So once they have it, it's exclusive to them. That's really important. You don't want to get in a situation where you've got a track that you've pitched to an exclusive music library and now you want to pitch it to someone else. You can't do that. That's just the way it is. Typically these agreements are the same. Any upfront fees that are collected from ads or placements for your shows that they might get are split 50-50 typically. And on the back end royalty side, 9 months later, if your piece of music is on TV today, for example, they get 50% that as well. That's the publisher's share. You get 50% as the writer's share. So it's really similar in the agreement style. It's just that if you pitch to a non-exclusive library, you can pitch to many non-exclusive libraries or many music supervisors and that sort of thing. The thing about exclusive libraries is that in the submission process, typically you don't do it online technically, where you just upload your files like a non-exclusive library. Typically you have to send an email, which we've gone over in previous lessons, just saying a little bit about yourself. Ask them questions like, are they accepting music right now? Ask them what the submission process is. They'll probably say send us links or direct us to your website and that sort of thing. But you tend to have more of a personal relationship with an exclusive library, pardon me. Whereas you might have 30 or 40 different non-exclusive libraries. You never really get to know them that well. They're out there constantly pitching your music. Whereas with exclusive libraries, you tend to know them by name, via email. You might do a Zoom call or a Skype call. You might have a telephone call, because they're kind of more of an elite library. So music supervisors tend to go to them and stay with them. So say there was a library ABC who's an exclusive library, there might be 10 to 20 or 30 professional music supervisors or ad agency people who constantly go to that library because they can trust how they do business. The music is cleared well and easy, and they're professional. So they tend to be more of they're out there having really close business connections. One of the other things you don't do with exclusive libraries is that they don't retitle your music. So if you wrote a song called Dark as Night and you submit it to these people and they like it and they want it on an exclusive basis, they don't change the title. So you won't see a different prefix or suffix and that sort of thing. It just stays with them. Now these agreements usually have out clauses as well. There's usually a time period, like I mentioned earlier, 2, 3, maybe 5 years. When those time frames come up, so say you're 60 days out of your 3-year contract, you can actually ask them for your tracks back. So say you want to take them out, maybe they're not performing that well in that library. Maybe you've got a bigger opportunity for that track. But they'll still collect royalties from anything that was placed before that agreement is terminated. So you don't retitle. The other key takeaway here is that you do not register that exclusive track with your PRO. I don't anyway. So for example, if I work with a music library that's exclusive and I call them up or email them and say, hey, do you want to listen to this track? Maybe it'll fit in your library for a show. They'll listen to it. If they want it, they'll take it and then they'll register it with your PRO and their PRO. That's how I've found in my experiences. So they don't retitle, you don't retitle, and you don't do the registration process. Let them handle all that. You still may have to do metadata, so it's good to keep brushing up on your skills. They have typical catalogs like non-exclusives. However, their metadata could be anywhere from a few pages or a page to maybe a paragraph to keywords, the genre, and this sort of stuff. So I've got about 40 publishers altogether. I always have a few exclusive publishers that I work with, and I work with them. I kind of know them better, as I was talking about earlier. You kind of know them on a personal basis. So if I write a track or a song, I can reach out to one of them and ask them if they want it. So here's a couple of examples. I work with one exclusive library in New York that does a lot of TV shows like Catfish and things like that. So every time I write a track that maybe is similar in that vein, I will pitch it to them first because I know they have I've had a successful past in getting a lot of my tracks or songs on that show. So what happens in that situation, I write a track or a cue or a piece of music and I pitch it to them. If they take it, they want it, I sign a non-exclusive agreement for that tune or that track. On the other side, I work with a big network in Canada that has an exclusive library. They're actually a television network. And what they do is they pay me up front to write the tracks, which is great. So X number of dollars is hundreds of dollars assigned to each track. So what I do there, they might come to me and say, we need 6 dark country tracks. Can you write those for us? And I'll say yes. I'll get down to writing them. Once I'm completed it, they send me a check for whatever money it is. It could be for 6 tracks, 15 tracks, 40 tracks. So I get paid up front by them. Then on the reverse, they register those tracks with SOCAN in this situation. And when they put them in all their TV networks, I think they have 78 networks across the world, they take the publisher's share, like we've talked about as non-exclusives do, and I take the writer's share. So they're paying me up front to write a bunch of tunes or songs in a similar vein or different vein, depending, and they pay me once I'm completed. So that's a really good situation to be in as a composer or a songwriter or artist or beat maker or anything like that. So they might come to me and say, we need 8 hip-hop tunes or rap style tunes or beats for a sports show. So I say yes, I do them up, and they pay me when I'm done. They put them in their system, in their database, in their catalog. They register the tunes and they put them on that show or multiple shows. Okay, so that's how that works. That's just 2 different ways I work with exclusive libraries. One is where I just pitch my music to them. If they like it, they'll take it in. Sometimes they'll say no, we have too much of that kind of music. And on the other side of the coin, I'm working with this TV network on an exclusive basis where they pay me up front, kind of when I'm done the work, to write the tunes for them. So that's some of the differences and similarities between non-exclusive and exclusive libraries. Okay, so here's a question. Why would you want to sign a song or tracks or sign an exclusive music library deal? Especially you probably say, hey Craig, the last few lessons you've been talking about non-exclusive where I can write a track, send it out to 30 or 40 different places and maybe have better success. That's true, but it's good to have a mixture of both, and there's a few reasons why. First of all, as I mentioned earlier, these exclusive libraries have a really deep connection with these music supervisors. So it'd be like if you go to your favorite grocery store all the time, you kind of feel comfortable, you know your way around it, you know where all the stuff is, you know what the prices typically are, you know what sales are. It's the same with music supervisors. If they keep going back to the same company, they feel comfortable. They use the same reps probably, they understand the catalog, they might even know some of the artists or the composers or songwriters that are in there. So they kind of have this, attachment to them. They know everything is safe legally. One thing you got to remember is that music supervisors, are in fear sometimes of getting sued. You know what I mean? If they use a track or a cue or a song and it's not cleared properly legally, the contracts are not done right, there could be a few breaches in there. And typically, like I said, these exclusive libraries, work with a group of music supervisors. Second reason is because some music supervisors do not want to use non-exclusive music. They feel that if they want to pick a song for an ad or a track for an ad or a TV show or a game, they want to know that it hasn't been in other stuff. So maybe it's an ad for baby clothes. They find this great track in an exclusive library. They know right away that because it's exclusive to this library, it hasn't been used probably in other ads or shows and that sort of thing. So they're looking for things that are fresh and new all the time. The other thing that's really cool about working with exclusive libraries is that a lot of times, and most of the times, they tell you the upcoming season for their shows, ads, what they're looking for. So whereas a non-exclusive library will not send you briefs sometimes, these are called briefs, and we're going to get into that in the coming lessons, they'll send you an email. You have that personal touch with them. They'll send an email out to all their composers or songwriters on their roster and say, okay, so for the next 12 months, we've got 26 episodes of this show. We need so many pop songs. We need so many hip-hop songs. We need this, that. So they'll lay it all out for you. I call that pointed writing. Whereas if I write a track in the studio today that I'm going to put in a non-exclusive library, I don't really know where that track's going to end up. But I do know if I've got a bunch of hip-hop songs that I'm writing and I want to give them to an exclusive library, I know already that they've got a good chance to actually utilize those because they've told me that they are looking for that stuff. So that really gives you a little bit of a heads up and a leg up. If you're writing towards something that has a really great possibility of getting into a show or an ad or a game, it just helps you be motivated, points you in the right direction. That's why I call it pointed writing. And you have a place to go with that. And again, you have that trust factor because you're working with the same people all the time. Some of the other things you want to think about too is that with an exclusive library, you still have to monitor how your music's being placed. So just like non-exclusive libraries, for example, I've got 30 or 40 non-exclusive libraries, maybe 25 of them are really making me any money. Same thing with exclusive libraries. So you do your research, you make sure you ask questions like, what shows or ads or games have you, put music on. They'll have no problem telling you that stuff. It's probably right on their website anyway, but get to know them a little bit. They're really good people. Sometimes they'll want to talk on the phone about it, or like I said, a Zoom call or something like that. But ask them the same questions that you would ask a non-exclusive, because you don't want your music tied up for 2 to 3 years with a company that might not be able to use it. So, for example, maybe they don't do a lot of shows that need beats or hip hop. So, that's what you write. If you ask that question, they'll tell you. So it's really important to do that. So again, sometimes you get upfront money, which is great. You'll always get 50% on the back end. You'll always get 50% of the upfront money. Sometimes they'll ask you to record complete albums for them. So they might say, we need 12 tracks in this tense, dramatic kind of situation or underscore thing. And we're going to pay X number of dollar a track, or we're going to pay you X number of dollars for the entire CD, if you want to call it, or album. And then they'll brand it and put it out there to their music supervisors and that sort of stuff. So that's another interesting point. Anyway, we're going to move on now to some key points. I want to make sure everything's very clear, and there's some kind of like a Q&A thing I put together here. I just want to make sure that everybody understands, because once you get your music in that exclusive library, it's tough to get it back out until you wait that 2 or 3 or 5 years, depending on the duration of the agreement. Let's go there. Okay, some key points and takeaways here. I've got this kind of done up in a little bit of a Q&A because I want to make sure it's clear. So the first point or question, if someone wants to use one of my songs or tracks that's already in an exclusive library, can I pitch it to them? No, you cannot. What you should do, if someone comes to you and says, hey, I want to use that song in this film or this game or something, you should direct them to your rep at the library. That's really important. So once it's in that state of exclusivity, you cannot pitch it anywhere else. If they come to you, you should really just go to the library and have them negotiate, which they're going to do on your behalf, to have that song placed in that film or video game. So I think that's really important. All right, number 2, can I pitch my non-exclusive tracks or songs? No, obviously you cannot, because they're your exclusive tracks or songs, sorry, because you cannot because they're not exclusive to you. They're exclusive to that library or music publisher, if you want to call it that. So no, you can't. Again, if someone wants to use it, you go direct them to the company itself. Do I register my songs if they're going to an exclusive library or tracks do I register with my PRO? I don't, and you should not. But if you've got a back catalog that are registered, that's okay, as long as they're not with any other exclusive companies or any non-exclusive companies. But I typically, when I write a track, and that's because I write for things. I write for typical types of TV shows. I write for different styles and genres. But I've got these agreements in place. But if you've got a back catalog and you've got your song already registered with your PRO, don't worry about it. They'll work around that for you. Another one. What about can I pitch the same song or track to 2 exclusive libraries? No, you cannot. It stays with one library. After your agreement is terminated, or if you want to get your tracks back once the date is up, you can do what you want with your tracks then. You can go to another exclusive library, or you can take them and put them in a non-exclusive library. Just realize that anything that was placed in when it was in the exclusive library will still be exclusive to them. They'll still collect royalties on it, 50%, and you'll get 50%. So you have to wait for your agreement to be over. Okay, so one more, or 2 more here actually, I think. What about I have multiple versions of my song or track? Okay, that's a good question. So maybe you've got a 30-second version that you're planning to do for advertising. Maybe you've got an alt version with different mixes. No, you cannot pitch that anywhere either. What you should do is actually, when you pitch that song to them and they want it, or track, they will ask you if you have multiple versions, and you'll take them all, they'll take them all, because they can use them in all kinds of different ways with their music soups or their film people or ad agents. So if you've got multiple versions of your song, you still cannot pitch the other versions. You cannot pitch any of them as long as they're in an exclusive agreement with these libraries. All right, one more. Can I take my... here's a good one. Can I place my exclusive song or track or composition on my website or on SoundCloud or things like that? Yeah, you certainly can. You definitely can. You can promote your work. You can even go as far as in SoundCloud or your library to put a link in there to say, hey, if you want to license this track, just go to this link, which will take it to the exclusive publisher or music library's website, and they can license it through there, and they'll negotiate with them directly. So that's always a good idea. Yes, put your music out everywhere. That's really important. You've got to remember though, if it is on streaming services where royalties are collected, it's still that 50-50 split. But if you want to put it on SoundCloud or Bandcamp or your website, you're welcome to do that. So I hope some of these tips cleared some things up, and you'll get your music into some music libraries that are exclusive. And I just think they're a little bit more upper echelon than non-exclusive sometimes. They tend to go out and get more money for you. And I think that's why it's important for everybody to be a part of a few of them, quite a few of them if you can. And I know some composers, for example, and songwriters they just go with one company all the time because they have so much success. Okay, so we've discussed exclusive music libraries, how they work, how their agreements work, why you should be a part of them, some of the differences between exclusive and non-exclusive libraries. If anybody has any questions on that or feel like they need to send me an email, that's fine too. Just make sure that when you are signing exclusive agreements that you ask some questions, because you don't want your music locked in there if they're not a successful company. So I've included a sample exclusive agreement, which is with a company I actually work with. So take a look at that, get used to reading how they work with terms and when you can get your songs back and that sort of thing. Like I said, the splits are usually the same, 50% each, with any upfront money and back-end money. I've had a lot of success with quite a few exclusive libraries. Again, you monitor them to see, you know, if they're doing their job for you. It is the music business, so things change. People move in and out of different positions within the industry. So you want to make sure if you understand the company, and you know, if suddenly you're not making any money off them, you know, you should always be keeping track of that, right? It's business. So I've got an activity there. I want you to research 5 exclusive libraries. I want you to contact them. I want you to see what their agreements are about. They'll have no problem sending you an agreement if they like your music, which works very similar to non-exclusives. Ask questions, log them in your sheet for anything that you submit. That's in lesson 8, I believe. So research at least 5, do the activities, and really, you know, the music business is based on that, you know, getting your stuff everywhere. So you should have a mixture of non-exclusive and exclusive libraries if you're a songwriter, composer, beat maker anyway. So get out there and have a look. There's free samples to download and use in your music creations. Everybody stay creative. Anybody has any questions, please feel free to contact me and I'll get some answers to you. And just keep being musical.